All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm David Solomon. In addition to being the Director of Research and Creative Activity at Christopher Newport University in Virginia, I'm the current chair of the Undergraduate Research Programs Division of CUR. I want to welcome you to this month's Undergraduate Research Programs Exchange. These 50-minute Zoom sessions are monthly facilitated exchanges of ideas and information on a variety of topics and issues related to undergraduate research programs. Sessions are recorded and made available in the CUR community, the CUR URPD website, and will be emailed to all who pre-register for the call, along with the PowerPoint slides. These exchanges are not designed to be formal presentations, but instead will begin with very brief introductions by facilitators and then open for discussion. Today's session addresses undergraduate research annual reports and data gathering. I'm fortunate to have colleagues from two institutions to help facilitate this session. First, I'll ask our guests to introduce themselves, and then we will each speak for a few minutes about our practices, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and discussion. Please use the chat as much as you can. So, Natalia, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Natalia Toro. I'm the director of the Office of Undergraduate Research at the University of Central Florida.
Amy?
Hi everyone, Amy Childress. I'm Director of Undergraduate Research at Purdue University.
Okay. So, we're going to talk a little bit about annual reports, and then we're going to talk much more about data gathering, which is significant these days. And I'm lucky that my two colleagues who are on here are doing amazing things with gathering data on their campuses. And on my campus, we are not. So I'm going to talk about the annual report. So I do an annual report each year, and the that's the cover page for last year's. That's our president down at the bottom taking what he calls an USSI with our summer scholar students. And what I put in the report each year, and I'm going to actually share the screen with the report itself and just show you what it looks like. Can everybody see that? No, you can't see that. Hmm. There we go. Now you can see it. Yes? Okay. So I put together this report each year, and what it has is basically a summary of the year on our office. We put our mission, our value statement in here. We have numbers that we break down. Now, as I say, we at Christopher Newport are not really great about gathering data. We're working on it. But we are a relatively small institution compared to my colleagues who are going to speak in a few minutes. We have about 4,500 undergraduates. So I'm able to track at least the numbers for our programs and report that in this program. We talk a little, there's a note from me as the director. We list our social media presence. And then we've got initiatives for the coming year that we list. We go over some of the accomplishments for the previous year. Last year, we started our new certificate in undergraduate research, so we include that. And then it's a lot of photos that are highlights from things that have happened through the year, conferences, events that we've had on campus, students who have gone and presented at other conferences, presented all over the world. I love that picture of Katie Bowerstocks in Kenya with the giraffe. Um, and then later on in the report, after lots of photos, which is what a lot of folks like to see, we also list our some of our publications, students who've published that year, and we do highlights then of the previous year, kind of just pointing out what's gone on. There's a year in review program by program through the office. We have our new initiative about becoming a scholar for a day for prospective students. And the last thing is that box, that gray box, which has the bare bones about budget, what we spent. And so part of the reason for doing this, as far as I'm concerned at my office, let me bring us back to the PowerPoint here, is for a few reasons. So I use it for administration. It gets sent to all the upper administration. I'm not required to do this every year, but I do it because I think it's a good way for us to make sure that we're keeping in front of people's eyes, the people who need to see it. We use it for faculty engagement. So it goes out to faculty. It particularly is shared with new faculty, newly hired faculty, so they can get a sense of what we're doing. We use it for advocacy funding requests. So I use it with advancement. I use it with donors as a way of giving it to folks to let them know what we're doing. We also share it with external partners. We do use it somewhat for marketing and recruitment, but not really for recruitment of students necessarily, more for recruitment of faculty to participate in our programs. We recruit students in a different way. And then, of course, the dreaded program assessment. It becomes a little bit of a part of our program assessment. We have to assess our programs every 2 years here. Thankfully, it's not every year. And it's always a struggle to do that because, as I say, we're not really great about gathering the data. But I'm going to pass the football off because I got two friends here who are really good at gathering the data. And we're going to start off with Amy at Purdue.
Hi. Thanks, David. Our office started in 2017, and we were tasked with providing institutional reporting on undergraduate research numbers. And a big part of that is that rectangle you see with the number 2,000 research projects completed every year. I used to work in a research center here, and I would see that number and ask, where is this coming from? Because at that point, I was overseeing many undergraduate research central UR programs on campus, and I couldn't come up with that number. So when I became director, I had no greater access to data at that point, and still people were using this, like the president and the provost were using this number, and I kept saying, this is not accurate. We cannot have them putting that out there into the world when we have no way to support it. So one of my colleagues, Craig Zwicky, I think many of you may know him, he had worked in our version of institutional reporting, and we looked at a lot of the data here, and we realized that the best approach was to start with what we had and what we could control. And that was looking at the numbers that were coming out of our office and then collaborating with the academic units on campus to bring theirs in and then send it back out. So we've been doing that for a number of years now. We are a Big Ten school. We're part of the Big Ten Academic Alliance. And so not only do we oversee data collection for Purdue, we manage the annual survey of undergrad research directors within the BTAA that goes out every year, and I'll get to that in a little bit.
Amy, can you just mention what your undergraduate population is?
So we have approximately 44,000 students right now.
Okay, and remember, I'm peanuts here. I got 4,500. So just want to keep that in mind here when we're talking about how we're collecting data and what we're able to do and the capacity. Go ahead, Amy.
So thank you for that. Having that many students gives us a little flexibility in being able to say, we report what we know. We know it's an undercount, and we continue to work on getting better and more accurate data sources. So you can see some of the issues that we've been facing, misconceptions about what is and is not undergraduate research, the broad use of the word research, inaccurate reporting as a result of misinterpretation, not having the complete data set, et cetera. And then we've also had to think about categories and types of research. So, I'm not going to bore you about our specific answers because they're most likely going to be different from each of your institutions. However, these are categories that affect everybody. So this is a good starting point to think about how how you think about the data that are available to you, what answers you need to be asking, and how you can begin to solve them. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see the BTAA collaboration. So it originally started in the survey, started in 2021, and that was led by Michigan State. They had a new provost. He was interested in benchmarking their institution compared to the peers. And it turns out when we met for our annual meeting that all of our administrations are very interested in how our individual schools are doing compared to our peers. So Michigan State really started this off with that initial survey. As more schools were added to the Big Ten and we had more consistent annual meetings, we got together, we fine-tuned that survey, and we give it out every year. The directors can update their numbers, and it provides really good, useful data for a senior administration as they're thinking about how do they allocate resources. If I can share my screen, um,
Hang on, I got to stop sharing mine.
okay.
Go ahead.
I can take you to our website, and everybody can access it. You can't see uh, you can't see actual data, but where it comes to identify your PIN, if you put in 6 9s, you'll get a fake data set, and then you can scroll through and see
We're not seeing it
what
though. Amy,
you're
are you
not.
going to share it?
I did.
There it is.
Sorry about that. Okay. So on the memo, it asks to identify your PIN. If you put in 6 9s, you can see these different tabs. And the types of information that we're collecting. If you click on survey content, it's it's going to take you to the survey, and you can see the actual survey. So that might be something that you think about if you are part of a consortium. We've been interested in talking to the larger CUR group about, is a survey or something similar to this, would it be valuable to the overall CUR organization? So and if we look at our next slide, it gives some information about Purdue specifically and the institutional reporting that we put together. The one side, it has expectations that we have from various groups of leadership, of faculty, students, and donors. You probably all hear stories are the most important, but you have to have stories along with numbers. And then on the right side in gold, you can see how we are meeting those expectations. David has some of our links that he will share in a follow-up. You can see our reporting page. Some of that is available to the public. We also have a contact us page, and through that contact us page, there's a consulting form. So if you would like to see any more specific information, or if you have questions about it, we're always happy to follow up. And then finally, another link that David will share is a page to the presentations that we've given at Connector. And there have been a number of them on tracking. So they're at the bottom here. And then this is a couple of examples from our website. So we have the general reporting website. We have an at-a-glance brief that Craig updates every semester, and that is one that our leadership finds extremely useful. Especially there's a quick count of how many mentors have been involved and how many students have been involved. Those are really the two key metrics that they look at first. And then finally, we do have a dashboard. Natalia is going to talk about her dashboards. And they're doing fantastic work down at UCF. This is an example of a dashboard that Craig has put together for us, and it is about feedback from our undergraduate research conferences. We ask students about their sense of belonging, as a researcher. So it's getting at their researcher identity. So that is a dashboard that we use, and our current leaders also find that one useful as well. Final slide I have is going to give you some takeaways and recommendations. So looking at broad categories of reporting aspects, and how do we recommend that you approach them? So uh, from an institutional basis, or even if you're looking at your own office, you have to determine your challenges and the limitations, and then make sure that you are adapting it to the leadership, and et cetera. So identifying your core purposes, having common definitions. We do have a working definition uh, on our website that we use at Purdue. That's a good starting point for you. If you don't have one, you'll have to adjust it, because again, it is for our specific instance here at Purdue. But we identify 5 types of disciplines, for example, and that has been helpful to just get everybody on the same page as we're moving forward. The last one has to do with the Big Ten. It's reflective of our work, so it's really valuable to connect with your peers and do some benchmarking, and you'll see where you are excelling in relation to your peers, and you can point that out as a rah-rah moment. And then you can also see where your peers might be better resourced, and that again is valuable to say, okay, our chief competitor is up here and we're down here, and do we really like that appearance? So maybe if you can help bring us up and help bridge that gap, we can look even better. So
Yeah, to be sure, administrators love a good rah-rah moment, don't
yep.
they?
So
So,
I will turn it over to Natalia now. Thank you.
okay, Natalia.
All right. Hi, everyone. So first, I want to apologize. I do have a lot of slides because I wanted to show you a lot of things from our dashboard, but we'll go through fairly quickly. So this slide is here because I know a lot of you may not know a lot about UCF, but we're an R1 institution, but we are very, very large. So we are at the next level. We have around 60,000 undergrads, 70,000 students total. We're in Orlando, Florida, near, I know it's a lot of students, I see it, near Disney and all of that stuff. But we have 70,000 students, and lots of our students are actually transfers, so around 37%, which for undergraduate research, we want to get them started right away. So we want to get all the information that we can quickly. Next slide. All right, so we're very large, as you know. So gathering meaningful data can be challenging. It would be really hard for us to gauge, what's happening because we're so large and decentralized. But like many of you, we are interested in understanding what's happening in undergraduate research at UCF. And so we want to know how many students are participating. Are we growing our numbers? What disciplines are students part of? How does research, I mean, this is really important. How does undergraduate research correlate to the metrics that the university really cares about, like retention, graduation, post-graduation success, right? That's what we all want to know. Next slide. And so we collect data just like everyone else in various ways. We have program level data through, the programs that we do here in the Office of Undergraduate Research. We also have university level data. Our surveys, like many of you might have an entering student survey, graduating student survey, a first destination student survey. We collect all of that and we take a look at that. But what I'm going to focus today, and I'm happy to talk about those as well, but what I'm going to focus today is our institutional data undergraduate research dashboard, because that's really, we mentioned that in a lot of things. And that's really, I think, what many of you want to hear about. So our undergraduate research dashboard was developed in 2009 through a partnership between our institutional knowledge management folks over here and the Office of Undergraduate Research at that time under Dr. Kimberly Schneider, which some of you may know her. And I won't go into detail about how all of that got started. I will share with you, though, some articles, and David has the actual PDF of them that he will share as well. And also want to plug in here that we'll be at Connect UR. And on Wednesday at 10:30, we will be presenting more in depth about that, and Kim will be there to present. But up until now, 17 years later, after that partnership started, we continue to work very closely with our institutional analytics colleagues to maintain and refine the dashboard annually. So this is an ongoing effort. Next slide. So for our dashboard, and I'll show you what it looks like, but what counts towards it? We want to count everything that we possibly can because we want to know how many students are doing research at UCF. And some of this data is really easy to gather because we know that if a student is doing an honors undergraduate thesis or direct independent research, we can easily get that through our enrollment management, connections. But when it comes to everything else, so the yellow one, those are easy. Everything else we do have to gather through partnerships or through the information that we have through our own office. So we work with the Office of Research, we work with financial aid, we reach out to faculty and staff who we know are on campus who are leading research programs to gather that data. And I will say that capturing and cleaning the data is time consuming, it's completely worth it. But it does take a long time to get that information back from partners or to talk to new people when people change, to be able to get that info. We typically work on it during the summer, and I do want to say that the credit for this goes to our amazing Assistant Director, Allison Hudson, who spends her time and energy in the summer making sure that we have clean data. And so you can see here we have paid experiences, structured programs for academic credit that we count in our buckets, and we count every single undergrad who presents their research at our Student Scholars Symposium. So that's how we know that they are connected to faculty, which is the next thing. This is what the spreadsheet looks like that we sent out to our partners. And so just a few of the limitations is that we can only submit data that has the student ID, faculty ID, the term, and the program code. This also means that volunteer experiences are not counted here. And also that we cannot count any external research. So while a student may do a great NSF RU at another institution, we do not have that data here. So we wouldn't be able to track that. Next. Oh, and just to mention, we do tell faculty the importance of documenting, and you'll see why, but we know that we are missing many, many students. Okay, next. All right. So once we submit the data, then all the magic happens. And I do not know how this happens, but we know that the next slide, that we have a beautiful dashboard at the end of it. And really, this dashboard allows us to explore student involvement in undergraduate research, documented at least, faculty participation, demographics, right? Because all this data comes from our PeopleSoft, information on our students, so we're able to cross-reference all of that enrollment trends and, importantly, performance metrics. Next slide. So this is when we click on student involvement, this is what the dashboard looks like. And this particular dashboard is only for independent research students. We do have a separate dashboard where we gather our cures or we call them our research intensive courses, but this is only for the ones that we can connect one student to one faculty. And so we can also see by college, and you can see up above where it says student college, we can actually dig through college, department, program major, all of these things to get in-depth information on student participation. Next one. All right. So this one, you can see clear trends, and I think this is really, really helpful for us. So according to our data, where we gather all this documentation, undergraduate researchers tend to graduate slightly faster than our general population, and they have slightly higher GPAs also than our general population. And I think this is important because at UCF, we're always trying to meet metrics of graduation, retention, making sure that our students are graduating on time. This is a big deal for Florida, it's a big deal for UCF. And I think some of our maybe success coaches or, kind of the people watching this can be a little concerned that students who are involved in undergraduate research may take longer to graduate. I think this is a thought. Or maybe like they're too busy, they cannot take anything else, it will affect their GPA. We don't see that bear out in the data, and we can actually show that and communicate that to them so that they can encourage students to actually get involved in undergraduate research. Next one. All right, so we also see higher graduation rates for the students who participate in undergraduate research versus the general UCF population. And we can use this again to talk to our administration and say, hey, it's good, we need resources so we can get more students involved because, as you can see, they're graduating at higher rates than the general population. And that's for 4-year and 3-year graduation for our first time in college and our transfer students. And next. All right. And beyond those outcomes, something that's really important to us is that we can use the dashboard to look at gaps in involvement in undergraduate research. So a new gap that we found, and we find gaps everywhere because you can take a look and really see like how students are doing. But is that we have realized that and maybe this is something that everyone's realizing across their institutions, but that our male students are underrepresented in undergraduate research, right? And so that's something that now we have top of mind, but we have done this as well. We have seen gaps in independent research, at least with our transfer students, closing up with our first gen students. But all these are things that our office keeps in our minds to make sure that our programs are accessible to those students. So it's really, really helpful. And for us to think about new programs and like what we need to do in order to narrow those gaps. Next slide. All right. And this is really helpful. So the dashboard helps us highlight successful practices across campus. So the first slide, I don't know if you can see all the data, but basically it says that our health sciences faculty mentor per faculty a lot more students than the general UCF institutional average of faculty. And so we were able, once we can share that with them and let them know, hey, thank you so much for doing this, they can put it in their own awards or reports. And we were able to also nominate them for a divisional award that they won because of this data. So we want to show in as many ways as we can, what they're doing right. But also it helps us identify trends. We were able to identify like what was happening during the pandemic. Here's with chemistry, that makes sense because it's a lab, that it went down during the pandemic and that they were able to go back up. And then lastly, and this was really important, a couple of years ago, we realized that there was a significant dip in our College of Engineering and Computer Sciences in regards to their engagement in undergraduate research. And we're trying to get to 100% HIP. I was able to reach out to their associate dean and share this with them. They were very concerned. They also used this dashboard for their own reports. And so that was really helpful because they actually streamlined their documentation process to make it easier for faculty to enroll students in, we call 4912, which is our independent directed research course. And that made a huge difference. And now their numbers are continually increasing since then. So we've been able to use it like that. We can, share with departments how many students participating in our symposium and everything through this dashboard to encourage them to have more participate. Next slide. Also, this is really cool. So Dr. Kim Schneider was able to work. We have an institutional knowledge management office, which deals with student level data. And then we also have an office that deals with our survey data. And we were able to have them work together so that we were able to correlate our students who are involved in undergraduate research with our first destination survey and find this really cool data which says that students who participate in 2 or more semesters of undergraduate research are have a higher likelihood to be employed before graduation and also to have a grad program that has accepted them before graduation. These were significant findings. So that's, I think, really great that we can show outcomes like that. And then the next slide. And this is another thing that I really appreciate about this dashboard is that we are able to gather all this data, right, for the students, for the university, but also our faculty who are so wonderful. If their students documented, we have it in a faculty mentor report that we can easily give to them. And this saves them so much time and energy when they're applying for tenure, promotion, or awards. So they just need to email us and we're able to get this report to them. With every single student, you can see there, I think it's like 2009, if I can read correctly, we'll have all of their information. Next slide. And this is my last slide, I promise. So we have found this data really useful because, like I said, we can work and engage with colleges and departments in conversations just by me reaching out and wanting to show them this data. They're really interested. It has opened up a lot of avenues because they all want to see their engagement grow. And we understand and we share with them, like our College of Arts and Humanities, we understand that it may be that they're doing the undergraduate research, like that it's happening, but we need it documented. So those are a lot of the conversations that we have. Also, a couple of years ago, we got an ask for a board of governors. They wanted to know student level data on engagement in a lot of things, including undergraduate research. And we had that data ready, which it was very easy for us to get and also to share with deans, check out your data that we're sending to the Board of Governors. And finally, this is really, really helpful for both us in writing grants that we want to write, but also this dashboard is available campus-wide. So faculty and deans and anyone who's working on that at the university can use it for reports and to write their own grants. And so it's widely used in that way. And that's all that I have for right now. And I will share these also on the chat.
Yes, I'll put the link in that I created so that everyone can see it. Share. So now that personally I feel completely inadequate. I'm over here with my little dinky spreadsheets, and you guys are doing this unbelievable work. Um, let's open it up and see what kinds of questions people have, discussion. Um, I mean, I'll kick it off because Amy said something interesting towards the end of her presentation that I thought was helpful. We're always looking for the balance here between telling the stories and having the data. A lot of us are really good in telling the stories. We're really terrible on telling the data, on having the data. At least that's my experience. That's certainly my experience at my institution. Um, how do you find that middle ground between telling the stories and having the data? The data is helpful for me when I'm making a case to administration. The stories are what's important to donors.
David, I wanted to say we do not have a good annual report. So I think if we spend so much time on this that we haven't found the balance, that's in my mind. I'm always like, we need to showcase this. So I think sometimes, the balance goes one way or the other.
Mm.
Yeah, I totally agree. Although in my office, I'm really lucky. We have two associate directors. So I mentioned Craig. The other one is JJ Sadler, who is here. I know he's got a number of other things he's doing right now too. So I don't know if he's able to respond. But JJ is the student focused associate director in our office, and so that's just part of his ongoing responsibilities is collecting those stories because he's in regular contact with the students. So I'm I'm very lucky because I can go to Craig and get the data, and I can go to JJ and get the stories, and then I can give them to JJ because he's also our marketing person, and so he produces a lot of those materials. So that's something that our leadership recognized a few years into the office is that we do need that that level of support here.
Okay, Sarah, LSU.
Yeah, hi. Thank you guys so much. This is amazing, and you will be hearing from me. This is really helpful. I am currently tasked also with gathering data on undergraduate research participation at Louisiana State, which has 40,000 undergraduates. But our Office of Undergraduate Research only has 2.4 staff members. I'm the only full-time staff member in our office. And so I have two different questions. The first, and they're slightly pretty much unrelated. The one is about the time commitment. So like I was looking at the staff of both of your offices and they look very well staffed. And so I'm just wondering like, because even now, as I'm trying to find this information for LSU, I'm like, wow, I really don't have the time to do this level of detail, even though I would love to. And we are also being asked to report data to, for our US News and World Report and things like this. So one is about the, like, your thoughts on like the time, staff, bandwidth, things like that. And then the second is our Office of Institutional Effectiveness did share with me the NESI data, which interestingly showed like that 24% of our graduating seniors was like, yeah, I participated in research. And I was like, wow, that seems like a really big number for LSU. And then our Career Center office sent out a graduation exit survey, which was optional for them to select, but they partnered with our office to really like, how do you want us to ask about undergraduate research? And so I asked them we didn't just ask like, did you do research, right? We're really looking at faculty mentored, right? The research that we are really talking about. And then we were looking at numbers like 2 to 4%, which I was like, that actually seems more realistic to me, knowing what I know, having been here for 17 years. So two-part question. One is time commitment. The other is, have you guys looked at your NESI data? How does your data compare to that?
I can start on that. So I will say the time commitment, we mostly do this in the summer. And for our assistant director, and honestly, some of the pieces could possibly be cleaned up by a student, but you need someone who can kind of look to see what makes sense and is able to clean it up as they go if they're working with someone. But I say that in the summer, there are certain days that she may spend like full days looking at this. It is not impossible, and it's not the whole year. But during that time, it'll be like just like as you're preparing for a big event or something, it'll be intensive hours trying to get data and clean it up. And we do ask our partners to fill it out just how we need it, which again, just trying to get it back from them is oftentimes more the issue because everyone's busy. So we spend a lot of time on that. But once it's done, we just wait till the next year to do it again. So it's not an all-time commitment. It's definitely worth it. It's one of the things that we know is really worth it. Your second question, that's such a good question because we in Florida, I don't know if there's anyone else in Florida here in a Florida SUS, but we have to report to our Board of Governors every year involvement with undergraduate research from survey data, so from the graduating student survey. And when I first started, UCF was way lower. I think we were at 10% versus everyone else who was at like 20%. We were definitely the lowest in the SUS, which did not seem right because I am part of that consortium and I know at least we're at the same as everyone else. So what happened was the Board of Governors had very specific questions that they wanted asked and we were not following that. So based on those questions, once we asked those questions, our number suddenly increased to like 25%. And the reason why is that our original question was, do you conduct faculty research with a faculty member? And that's what was around 10. But when you start asking them more general questions, I think students will know things that they did in the classroom and other things which we would not define as independent research. So for the purposes of the state, we go through with their questions, but I think it's all about how you ask that you will get different answers that may be more or less accurate.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Amy.
So it's similar. It's similar at Purdue in terms of um, time. Actually, it's a bit more. So we have four annual research conferences, and last year we had over 3,500 students and over 1,400 mentors. And we own the system. It's called Our Connect. It's been developed here in house. So we use that not only for our conferences, but we also use it for we encourage programs and departments and colleges to use it for their matching. And it uses Purdue authenticated login. So when students and mentors log in, we have their Purdue credentials, which is a huge is a huge deal. So that saves quite a bit of time in cleaning up data. So Craig is updating our dashboards on every term after the data. When there's a data freeze, then he's busy for a week or two cleaning up data and updating everything. JJ put in the chat that he's collecting stories. He's been doing that from the beginning, working with our marketing interns, and they use them in a variety of ways. And now he's creating this resource that will have them by discipline and in term, and it's going to be helpful not only for us but for our partners across campus. When it comes to data, we don't have the same restrictions that a lot of you in the South have. So we don't have requirements from a state or from our accreditors that say we have to do X, Y, Z. Knock on wood, we don't have that currently, which makes it a little bit easier for us. Since we are the central source of data, we go out to the colleges and the departments and we tell them, this is what we are reporting on your behalf to the institution and publicly. So it's to your benefit to look at them and see if it matches what you have. And if you're not doing anything, we can work with you on data collection. And we are doing that with some colleges and a couple of departments. We get different results. One college sends us a Word document. Fortunately, they have the lowest level of undergraduate research participation, so there's some time to clean that, but not as much as if it were, say, the College of Engineering, which is 28% of our enrollment. Um, so so that's been a big carrot, a very useful carrot for us is when we go out to them and say, we have your numbers. If you want to make it look better, we want it to look better for you. Please work with us.
Let me follow up on what Sarah said a minute ago, though, because um, I think the majority of us aren't at schools that have 40 or 60,000 students. We don't have offices that have staffs. I mean, my office is me and my administrative assistant, and that's it. Um, how do we do that? I mean, is there anybody at a smaller institution that has effectively figured out how to collect this data? Yeah, hearing crickets here. Lance?
I'm
Lance
trying
has
to
got
get in
something.
there. Yeah, I mean, so everybody who doesn't know me is going to be looking at like UNC Charlotte right now and being like, that's not a smaller institution. But for those of you who do know me previously, before coming here a few years ago, I was a small liberal arts college in Texas called Austin College, and we were only about 1,400 students. So I had a really good partnership with institutional research there. And so we used Tableau data board, visualizations and dashboards and things like that. And because we had built into our curriculum along the way experiential learning requirement upon which research was one of the things that could meet that requirement for graduation. So it was part of the core, right? Study abroad, internships, research, etc. Then we were subject to, as Amy puts it, the Southern reporting for accreditation. So we had to have program learning outcomes. We had to track all of that data, much the same as some of the academic departments did. So institutional research was a partner with us, pretty much the same as an academic department. And so in order to do that, we implemented courses. So every single department, we went through the curriculum process, added the same course numbers to every single department. So then we could track course enrollments and course involvements. And it was no longer, independent study that could mean 57 different million things and you had no idea whether it was research or not. We now had research at the 200 level, 300 level, and 400 level added to every single department and, sign them up through there. And so, institutional research just helped us, similar to what Natalia describes, really helped us kind of build a lot of those things so that we could collect those data. They would do a lot of the analysis for us, because faculty can't touch demographic data and all those kinds of things in places like Texas. Those kinds of things could be summarized and provided to us, and we could then report them out. Our annual report was much smaller than yours, even though I didn't have all the pictures in. But what I did do many years ago, Kerr had an assessment person and she really promoted infographics. So I did a lot of infographics, right? So like I would have my data tables, but then it was like, students traveling to conferences accumulated how many miles, and we'd have a little, infographic of the globe and the little plane flying around it, and say how, whether we could go to the moon or back, or how many times we could go around, how many times we go around the country or whatever with the miles that students traveled, and found ways to present it that way. So it was a kind of a combination of the data and the story together that was helpful for both, admissions and advancement, as well as, from a reporting standpoint for our administration, and reporting to the faculty, because the money to originally create our center came from, faculty initiative. And so I always felt it was important to report back to the faculty exactly how those dollars were spent. So that's why I did it there. Flipping your question, I found it a lot easier at the smaller school than I do now. Because it was all centralized. There was only one person, one face that anybody had to know. That was mine, right? And I could leverage those relationships to get the departments to tell me. Here, I'm really struggling with what, Natalia and Amy are talking about, like the sort of central place and colleges and departments willing to share their data and wanting to funnel it in. So I'll flip it the other way. Like I'm jealous of them, but for other reasons.
Yeah, Amy said, I mean, her advice is baby steps. Start with the easiest data that you can get, and go from there. Anastasia asked, what are some of the most important data points that you need to attend to and collect if you're a small institution where you're understaffed? And I think Amy says, easiest data first. So start with what you can collect easily, and then I guess you sort of grow from there. Is that the idea,
Yeah.
Natalia? Oh, Amy, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Really quick, Natalia. I would also encourage you to come up with a common list of definitions. So make sure you're all using the exact language in the same way. Natalia?
Yeah, I just had a thought. I think so we are very big. And what has really helped us, so this is beside the dashboard, right? So the dashboard, that's great. You can visualize the data. But you don't necessarily need a dashboard. You just need to have access to the data so you can take a look at it yourself. What's been really helpful, I think, for us is documenting through our independent directed research courses, because we can encourage the faculty to do that. And what has been really helpful there at UCF is the zero credit option, where that is like the easiest, even more than our programs, the easiest data to get is from enrollment in courses. And if you can figure that out, right? And so for the way that it works at UCF is if students are enrolled in any other course, they can do a zero credit option for directed independent research, and they don't have to pay for it. If it is when they're not taking courses, like in the summer, they do have to pay for the 1 credit. So that one is tricky, even if it's 0 credits, because of the student fees and things like that. that's a different fight that we want to fight, which is not there yet to kind of allow these students to just document it. But that would be my advice. I think the problem is not getting our own data. That's easy. It's just how do we ensure that everyone else is documenting in a way that you can get access to. And I think those zero credit courses are a great job. FIU actually has the highest number of undergraduate researchers percentage wise in the Florida SUS system. And I think a lot of that is because their institution really pushes faculty and students to document those experiences. So it puts it in the student mind that they did conduct research. So when they do the surveys, they know for sure. But they're way higher than the rest of us, and I think that's why.
Yeah, the zero credit option is really great if you can pull it off. My institution said, no, we can't have zero credit courses. And I know that there are some institutions in some states systems that won't permit that. But I'm gonna start to wrap us up here. And I've got a definitional question for Amy, which is how are there 18 schools in the Big Ten? That seems like a definition problem, but we can take that offline. I want to thank everybody for participating in today's URP exchange. Sincere thanks to my terrific colleagues, Natalia Toro at University of Central Florida and Amy Childress at Purdue. Thanks to Kerr, especially Todd Wagner, for his tech support. Join us next month where we'll have our final URP exchange of the academic year on February 22nd at noon Eastern. And the topic will be undergraduate research and national fellowships. The link for registration will be posted soon in the Kerr community. And again, want to thank everyone for being here and wish you all have a great day.